Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into something that trips up a lot of folks in cybersecurity.
Uh-huh.
It's that step, going from having the basics down, maybe from try hack me, hack the box, maybe poking around the PWK fundamentals.
Glad you got some skills.
Exactly. But then getting really ready, like exam ready, for the OSCP. That's a whole different level.
It really is.
Mhm.
And look, we're not going to start from square one today, like explaining ports or basic Nmap.
No, definitely not.
Our mission here for this deep dive is really to pull out the practical stuff, the strategies, the mindset shifts you need when you're at that intermediate stage and aiming for OSCP.
Taking what you know and making it exam sharp.
Yeah, exactly. Fine-tuning it for what the OSCP actually demands.
Okay, cool. So let's get right into it. The labs, that's the core of the prep, right? For people already popping some boxes, what's the next level lab strategy for OSCP?
Well, this is where things often need to change. It's moving away from just, like, opportunistically finding a vuln and popping a shell.
Which is fun, but maybe not efficient.
Yeah. Right. It's about getting structured, consistent, efficient. Just stumbling onto things isn't enough anymore.
So what does structured look like in practice?
It means setting really clear goals for each lab session. Like, okay, instead of just randomly hopping between machines.
Which I think we've all done.
Oh, yeah. You decide, right, today I'm only focusing on local privilege escalation on these 3 Linux boxes or whatever it is. Specific targets, specific techniques.
Laser focus. Okay. And what about documenting all this? It feels like homework sometimes.
But it's crucial. And you got to shift how you think about it. It's not just a log.
It's not just proof you did it.
It's your personal knowledge base.
Yeah.
Think of it like notes to your future self during the exam. I mean, I remember getting stuck for hours once in the PWK labs, only to find the answer buried in some quick note I'd scribbled down about some, like, tiny service I found way earlier. Detailing your reasoning? Yes. Why did you try that specific exploit? What does that initial scan really tell you? That's what locks it in your brain, way more than just getting root does.
That makes a lot of sense, building that internal wiki. Okay, what about going back to machines you've already rooted? Is that worth the time? It seems counterintuitive, maybe?
Well, absolutely. Definitely worth it. If you're serious about being exam ready, revisiting is super valuable.
How so?
Well, try hitting again a few days later. Fresh eyes, right? Look for different ways in. Maybe there was another vuln you missed or different tool you could have used.
Exploring alternative paths.
Exactly. And even better, push yourself. Could you script part of that? Automate the boring bits. That shows a deeper understanding.
Right. Scripting for efficiency. Pro tip. Now, thinking specifically about the PWK labs, anything in there people should really zero in on?
Yeah, definitely. Those OffSec extra miles, don't skip them.
The extra credit stuff?
Sort of, but they're designed for a reason. They often focus on things like persistence, how to stay in after you get initial access.
Which is very exam-like, I imagine.
Very much so. Don't treat them as optional. They teach you how to maintain that foothold.
Yeah.
Which is critical.
Okay, got it. So structured sessions, specific goals, document the why, revisit boxes, hit those extra miles. Makes sense. Let's talk tools. We all have our favorites, but what's mastery mean for OSCP prep?
Yeah, tool mastery for OSCP, it's way more than just knowing the command.
Right, not just the help menu.
Exactly. It's about using it efficiently, effectively, when the clock's ticking and the pressure's on, like Nmap.
Okay, yeah, and
Mastery there means knowing how to do smart scans, fast scans, maybe even stealthy scans, depending. Pinpointing entry points quickly without making a ton of noise. It's knowing the right flags for that specific situation.
moving beyond just Nmap-SS target.
Way beyond. And then for Windows, you got to get really good with the Enum 4 Linux for client, RP client.
The Windows Recon staple.
For digging deep into users, shares, services, all that stuff that gives you attack vectors. Knowing the options, interpreting the output quickly, that's key.
And web apps, they pop up a fair bit, right?
Oh, yeah. You'll definitely hit web stuff. So Burp Suite. You need to master Burp Suite.
Proxy repeater.
All of it. Using the proxy well, manipulating requests, using repeater for manual poking, knowing how to set up intruder for some basic fuzzing.
Yeah.
Essential skills.
Okay. Now let's say you get that initial shell. The next big hurdle is often Prevesc. What tools need deep understanding there?
LimPs, WinPs, invaluable. But
there's always a but.
Yeah. The mastery isn't just running the script. Anyone can do that. It's understanding the output.
Seeing the signal in the noise.
Exactly. Critically analyzing what it spits out, spotting the misconfiguration or the weakness it flags and understanding why that's exploitable. That's the difference.
Understanding the why, again, seems like a theme.
Right.
What about moving around networks? Pivoting.
Crucial, super critical for the exam. You need to be comfortable with tools like Chisel or just standard SSH tunneling, port forwarding.
For those segmented networks.
Yeah, the exam often mimics that. Machines behind firewalls, different subnets, you have to know how to build tunnels to reach them, knowing which tool for which scenario.
Makes sense. And anything beyond these core tools, like exploit dev stuff.
Well, you probably don't need to be a full-blown exploit developer, but having a basic grasp of exploit development, or at least being able to read, understand, and modify public exploits, that's huge.
Especially for buffer overflows, maybe?
Particularly buffer overflows.
Yeah.
Or just tweaking shellcode, adapting an exploit script slightly. Give me the difference between getting stuck and getting root.
Okay, so deep tool knowledge, strategic application, understanding the output, pivoting, maybe some basic exploit tweaking. Got it. Let's shift gears a bit. The mental game. OSCP is famous for being tough.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
The mental state is often underestimated. That 24-hour format, it's designed to test you under pressure. Sustained pressure.
You're going to get stuck.
Guaranteed. You will hit walls. You will feel frustrated. It's baked into the experience. The key is developing, let's call it structured persistence.
Structured persistence. I like that. How do you build that?
Practice. Deliberate practice. Start doing longer hacking sessions. Like block out 4, 5, 6 hours regularly.
Build that endurance.
Exactly. Get used to the rhythm, the ups, the downs, the frustration, the breakthrough. And during those sessions, consciously practice taking breaks. Smart breaks.
Not just rage quitting.
Haha, no. Stepping away to clear your head and being willing to say, okay, this approach isn't working, and starting fresh on that machine if you have to. And sticking to your checklist, recon, exploit, post-exploit. Always.
Building the mental habits alongside the technical ones. How do you stop stress from just, derailing everything in those long sessions or the exam itself?
You need your own system for managing it. Seriously. Figure out what works for you. Maybe it's a quick walk. Maybe it's deep breaths. Maybe it's just stepping away for 5 minutes.
Knowing when to push and when to pause.
Right. And keeping that mindset positive, or at least resilient, even when nothing seems to be working. Here's something to try. When you hit that wall, don't just stare. Actively write down like 3 different things you could try next, even if they seem unlikely.
Forces you out of that tunnel vision.
Exactly. Breaks that cycle of just trying the same failed thing over and over.
That's really practical advice. Okay, let's talk reporting. The thing you do after the fun part. I think lots of intermediate folks see it as an afterthought.
Yeah, and that's a mistake for OSCP, a big one. The report is just as vital as popping the boxes.
Seriously. Equally important.
Absolutely. Especially if you're aiming to pass, getting root is only half the battle. You have to prove it clearly and comprehensively.
So when do you actually start writing it? Not at hour 23, I hope.
Please, no. The best way. Write as you go.
Concurrently, while you're hacking.
Yep. Find a vuln. Document it. Pop a shell. Document the steps. Take the screenshot. Right then and there. Your memory is terrible later, trust me.
And it saves a massive headache at the end.
Totally. Reduces stress, saves time, improves accuracy. Just build a habit during lab practice.
Okay, so what goes into a good OSCP report? What are the must-haves?
Well, you need a clear title, objective, a short summary of the vulns you found and used. Then, the detailed steps, every command.
Every single one.
Every important one that leads to the exploit or profesc. With clear screenshots, labeled screenshots showing context, and of course the proof. Root shell, flags, whatever's required. Clear proof.
Screenshots are key then. What about tools or templates? Does OffSec provide something?
Yeah, OffSec has an official template. It's a good start. Definitely use it as a base. But lots of people also like using things like Cherry Tree or maybe Markdown with Obsidian.
For organizing notes and screenshots.
Exactly. Find a system that works for you. Something that makes it easy to grab screenshots, paste commands, keep it all organized.
Makes sense. Any final reporting pitfalls to avoid?
Proofread. Seriously. Proofread it carefully. Minor typos probably won't fail you, but missing screenshots, unclear steps, missing proof, that absolutely can.
Your report is the proof you did the work and understood it.
Precisely. It demonstrates your competence. Don't mess it up at the last hurdle.
Solid advice. Okay, so you've done the labs, mastered the tools, worked on the mindset, got reporting down. How do you really test if you're ready for the pressure of the exam? Mock exams.
Yes. Simulating the exam environment is probably the best reality check you can get.
How do you set that up effectively?
Connect it right back to the goal. passing, set up maybe 4 or 5 VMs. Give yourself a strict 24-hour window, just like the real thing.
And time yourself per machine.
Yeah, allocate roughly, say, 5 or 6 hours per machine as a guideline. Try to stick to it.
Where can people find boxes suitable for this?
TryHackMe has that OSCP path, which has some good practice scenarios. And Hack the Box Pro Labs, things like Offshore, Dante, Rast Labs, those are really solid, challenging exam-style environments.
Good resources. What should you be tracking during these mocks? Just whether you get root?
No, track 2 things mainly.
Yeah.
Your total score across the boxes based on OSCP scoring.
Right, the points.
And how much time you actually spent on each box, successfully or unsuccessfully. That tells you about your pacing, your strong points, where you're getting bogged down.
Treat it like the real deal.
Absolutely. Focus, minimize distractions.
And the goal isn't necessarily 100% compromise on the mock.
Not necessarily, no. Remember, the passing score is typically 70 points. So the real goal of the simulation is practicing hitting that 70-point threshold consistently with good, clear documentation for the boxes you do compromise.
Getting the points efficiently and proving it.
That's the name of the game. Hone that skill under pressure.
Wow. Okay. This has been super helpful, a real deep dive. So let's just quickly recap the big things for intermediate learners aiming for OSCP.
Sure.
It's about refining that lab strategy-focused goals, documenting the why, really mastering your tools for efficiency, building that mental stamina, that structured persistence.
Yep, the mindset.
Learning to report like a pro as you go. And finally, rigorously simulating the exam conditions.
That pretty much covers the key shifts, I think. Take those ideas, really apply them in your prep.
And bridge that gap.
Exactly. You'll be in a much stronger position to nail the OSCP.
Fantastic. So we'll leave everyone with a final thought to chew on. Thinking about all these areas, labs, tools, mindset, reporting, simulation, which one feels like your biggest hurdle right now in your OSCP journey? And maybe more importantly, what's one concrete step you're going to take, like this week, to start tackling that specific challenge? Something to think about as you continue your own deep dive.